Welcome to Founded on Purpose, the show where we get to know the people working at the intersection of business and impact, profit and purpose. I'm your host, Kt McBratney. Each episode, we welcome a founder, funder, or ecosystem builder to answer the same set of questions. The questions may be the same, but the perspectives and discussion they unlock are always wildly and beautifully different. And our guest today is best called a champion of social good. Devin Thorpe is an author, speaker, host of the prolific interview show Superpowers for Good. He's also the founder of the Supercrowd Inc., where he connects and educates people around crowdfunding and investing in impact. Devin, welcome to the show.
It is a thrill and an honor to be here with you, Katie. Thank you so much for having me. Golly, thank you.
Well, thanks for being here. I'm excited to dive in. You know the premise. We have the same 8 questions. And I have to admit, I'm super excited just to dive right in with you because every conversation that you and I have had, that I've had the benefit of having with you, always illuminates something new or scratches a new purpose itch for me. And I'm sure it will for our audience as well. So we'll jump right in with the first question, which is, Devin, in one word, what is your purpose? I know it's a challenging one, especially for someone who has written, 4 books, 5 books?
7.
Okay. Has interviewed 1,500 people on your show.
Yeah.
Hosted how many events? You're pulling from a wealth of things. But yeah, if you had to, I'm making you. If you had to, what is that singular purpose that drives you every day to do all this?
I would say service. That's the word that keeps coming to my mind. I want to serve people, humanity, serve the world. That's really what it comes down to.
Tell us more about what this idea of service is.
So, for me, I started saying a decade ago that my goal was to help solve the world's biggest problems. Then people would start saying, well, what are the world's biggest problems? And I thought, well, it's obvious, isn't it? But it wasn't. It wasn't obvious to people. And so I have kind of narrowed the focus down just a little bit. I talk about climate change, poverty and social justice, and global health issues. And you don't have to look very far to see how acutely problematic these issues are. I mean, pandemic anyway, right? Global public health is a huge issue. And it's fascinating to compare the 1918 pandemic, which also lasted about 3 years in terms of its grip on the world, like this one did from 2020 to 2023 primarily. But climate change, my gosh, we're all living in that world, and social justice issues and poverty. My gosh, it's a global problem. I live in a town called Stockton, California. That is a white minority community, which I love. I love. I love the people here. I've never loved living anywhere more than I love living in Stockton. But it is a personification, a living manifestation of problems of social justice and poverty. It is a community that has really been challenged. And like I say, just the greatest people in the country live here. They're just amazing human beings. I just love Stockton. But it's an opportunity too to find ways to help, which I'm working on doing.
It sounds like service is that then. It's a practice and it's more than just a career choice for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So this is, sadly, it should be more career focused. And I try every day. I try to get this. I need to figure out how to make more money from this. But what drives me is helping people, right? That's what really drives me. And I sound like I'm bragging, but I want to tell you that it's so true. It is so true. I get into conversations with people and try to help out and spend a lot of time just helping people because that's what what truly motivates me. Let me give you an example. I've learned from my wife, because Gail she's just an amazing human being who's just so kind. But some of the ways that she helps are subtle but so emblematic. And I'll give you an example. But we became aware that there was someone, we think it's a woman who lives in the park nearby, that comes by on our recycling day and picks the cans out of our recycling bin. And so my wife said, that's just so hard for her to do, right? She got to come by, and she's trying to be stealthy so no one gets mad at her. And it's 5:00 in the morning when she's doing this. And so let's just put all of our cans in a box next to the recycling bin so she can just come grab them easy and be on her way, right? So, so she started doing that. And so I look at that and see the intersection of her kindness to a human being and her care and deep concern about the planet. I mean, there's nothing recyclable that's going in the garbage at our house, right? Because of that concern for the planet and climate change. And, she's a great role model for me. And I try to support her in all these things.
That's a beautiful story. And this motivation to help, right? And this fact that it sounds like you almost can't turn it off, which is a beautiful thing. And also, how do you ensure that as you're giving so much and you're helping so much, that you're receiving as well? How do you navigate that as someone who is a helper by nature and is tackling some very, very big problems that, I don't feel like I'm being bleak, but likely they will not get completely solved in our lifetime. So how do you balance the fact that you're pouring yourself into these things and you're serving in a world that can take a lot?
Yeah. I think there are two fundamental answers to this. One is the source of the problem, right? The good side is it's intrinsic, right? I get up in the morning, I help people, I feel good. I feel, I go to bed every night feeling fulfilled and grateful for this path that I'm on. I try not to do anything that I don't love doing, and I love, helping people. And it just, it's just, like I say, it's a very fulfilling path. I just love it. The other side of the coin, the problem I see is because it's so intrinsically fulfilling, I struggle to make it economically fulfilling. And I don't care one rat's patootie about me, but I do feel for my wife, who, Gail, she is such a good soul. And our economics are tied pretty closely together. And she's carried more than her share of the weight over the years. And I've had good years. My income has been very variable. She was a school teacher. Her income was very constant, and she got a little retirement income now. But mine, I tend to be lumpy, and I've got to do better at shouldering my share of that load. I've got to find more ways to capture some of the value I create for people, because I think it's fair, right? When you create economic value for people, especially, to capture some of that value in your offerings, one way or another. So that's my big challenge. That's what I'm working on right now.
You are preaching to the choir when you're talking about mutually consensual transactions and exchanges of value. I could go off on an entire soapbox about for this entire time about extractive business models and things like that. But we'll put a pin in it because I have a feeling it'll come back around during the conversation. And I want to spin us into question 2, which is a little bit more on the positive side, right? We're talking about these big, complex problems, the give and gets of being a helper. Let's highlight something positive recently. What is your most recent win?
My most recent wins are small, but we created recently kind of a new advertising program for our newsletter. And we designed it primarily for issuers of crowdfunding campaigns, right? We wanted to make it easy and affordable for people to reach our growing community. We've got now over 8,000 people on our list, and our list is growing at a healthy rate. We're excited about that. And we wanted to make it easy and affordable for people who are trying to do a crowdfunding campaign to raise money. And so we have now created that program. And so we sell banner ads in our newsletter for a relatively modest price of $125, and that's for 10. So they get 10 reaches out to our community for that price, and we're selling them, right? So it's that for me. I mean, it's a silly win in a way, but we've tried to find that win-win place in creating value for people and adding value. And so we're excited about that. That's been kind of our recent win. I don't know. It's not a very exciting one, but it was important to us.
Sometimes they're not exciting wins. Sometimes the not exciting wins, or the ones that some people might not be personally familiar with, are the ones that enable the big wins to happen. Or oftentimes it comes up on the show. Sometimes the wins are things that aren't visible outside to external folks. So like, we celebrate all wins here, which is why it's such an open-ended question, because the work is hard and it's challenging, and that's part of the draw. And also it's hard and challenging. So we need to acknowledge the wins as we get them.
Yeah, for sure.
Along those lines a little bit, I'm curious. This is a question I was particularly interested to hear your take on, because you're easy to describe and hard to define, if that makes sense. You absolutely have a narrative, a clear purpose, a clear point of view and focus, and yet I happily find you as somebody who doesn't always fit into one neat box, which of course I love as somebody who doesn't even know where the box is myself. The third question is, what is the single biggest missed opportunity in your field? And the reason I'm curious about your answer is, your field could be just social good as a whole. It could be impact investing. It could be one of the slices that you dig deep into, or it could be bigger and something that I hadn't even thought of. So for somebody who isn't like, I'm in mechanical engineering, this is exactly the biggest issue. How would you define the biggest missed opportunity that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think society is missing the boat on crowdfunding. And the problem, the very specific issue, is that there are tremendous investment opportunities, real investment opportunities available, hundreds of them right now, this minute, investment opportunities that can improve your life as an investor. And the number of people actively engaged in this process is in the hundreds, I think, of people that are actively looking at opportunities to invest via crowdfunding. And you can start investing with as little, I kid you not, I saw one offering with a minimum investment of $1.
Wow.
$1. The Climatize lets you invest $5, as little as $5 in all of their offerings. SMBX lets you invest $10 in their offerings. $100 is not quite universal, but very common. Mm-hmm. And so it is not hard to find a place to go invest in. And Climatize, 0 fees to the investor. SMBX, 0 fees to the investors. And so it's not like you're going to pay invest $10 and then pay $1 fee, which is 10%, and then $1 when they, no fees. So there are tremendous economic opportunities available to investors right now, this minute. and they're being ignored because it's unfamiliar, new, and scary. A little bit, hard. I'll have to admit, it's a little bit hard. But one of the things that we're trying to help people see is that it can be easier. Do it with a group. Do it with friends. We've got our Impact Cherub Club that we created years ago. We get together every month and we look at deals, and every month we pick things to invest in. And it is so fun. It is so fun. And we share the burden of due diligence. We share insights with one another, and it's really powerful stuff. And, that's just one way. AI, what a great tool for doing due diligence and learning more. It's also a great tool for issuers to put together the offering stuff. There's so much that has to be done to prepare an offering. And now, I did my offering stuff, 18 months ago. And I was unfamiliar with the AI tools, and the AI tools weren't as good then as they are now. So I did it all the old-fashioned way. Just 18 months later, I could put together the same package in an afternoon, right, using AI tools. It isn't hard to do a crowdfunding campaign. It isn't hard to do due diligence anymore. It's just amazing. And there's so many people. Sorry, I made a noise. There's so many people that, I'm sorry, I get a little wound up. But there's so many people that are ignoring this opportunity. And they're people with resources and means and money. And there's so much impact that you can have this way. It's incredible. It's incredible. I think about, the LGBT community that is really woefully underfunded, and the assaults, the attacks on trans people today is really scary to me. And we can have this is such an easy way to support people in that community. And of course, minority founders, women founders, there's just so many opportunities to do good just by just using a lens that says, I'm going to look at investing opportunities with people that aren't like me. I'm going to look, and wow, it just changes your lens, your perspective. And you can find there's plenty of opportunity to make money and do good. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'm passionate about this.
Sorry, this is the place to be passionate and get wound up about it. And you and I have talked, and actually that's what brought us together around purpose rounds, is this idea that there are investment opportunities that can be impactful and can have a financial upside, and democratizing the access to those investment opportunities, right? Not only having them open to accredited investors, which typically can pattern match to certain experiences and identities, but also saying for anyone, right? And to put your money where your values are in a way that has impact but isn't purely philanthropic, and really playing with the building blocks of profit and purpose, because we exist in capitalism, regardless of anyone's feeling about it. We exist in it. We all need money. We all have bills to pay. And it's interesting to see, with crowdfunding most widely being known in the rewards-based or product-based crowdfunding that you see on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and the like, where you're chipping in $50 and you might get some stickers and a t-shirt or early access to that video game. And this huge opportunity around regulation crowdfunding, equity crowdfunding, to align it really with purpose and make it less about a cool thing, a cool gadget, consumption, all of that, consumerism, and about saying this is what I want to see more of in the world, and I'm going to take action with my money. And you don't have to have these high barriers of entry. And I love what you were saying about making it easier. Can you talk a little bit more about how you're working to make it easier for people to participate in this kind of purpose round crowdfunding offering on both sides of the equation, both from an entrepreneur founder standpoint and also from an investor, knowing that people come from all different experience levels and familiarity and comfort?
Yeah. So, one of the things that's sort of obvious and easy is education. So we're doing a lot of that. I've written books about crowdfunding, a couple of them now. I'm working on a third, and but that's the easy stuff, right? We really need tools to help, and I'm not a great entrepreneur, but I've already created some really basic tools to help people create business plans so that you can, in 30 minutes, you can generate a complete, customized, meaningful, relevant business plan. It's not done, right? But you can have a complete draft of a business plan for a business idea in 30 minutes. And here's the great thing, right? Is ChatGPT is not only going to fill in the blanks and give you information that you kind of gave it and elaborate on it. It's going to give you ideas and steps and things to do that smarter people than you have already been doing, right? That it's picked up, right? And you go, oh my gosh, I could do this, I should do that, and it really is a whole business plan, and you can learn so much from it and do it in 30 minutes. And that then, and you're going to take that business plan and say, I'm not going to do that. Strip it out. Don't do that. You don't have to, you don't have to do what it says. It's your document, but you start. So that's cool. That's a fun thing. I love that. I've used it myself for like 4 or 5 different business plans. And some of them are really cool. Like I helped a guy in Nigeria who's working on doing a $75 million solar project. And so showed him how to do this, and he put together a whole plan. And now he's out trying to raise venture capital, and he's trying to get government support. And he's doing the whole thing. And because he's walking around with a professional looking document now, he's getting meetings, right? People are taking him seriously. So it works, right? Okay. And so then on the other side, right, you got investors. And let's be clear, the honest truth is, if you are not doing thoughtful due diligence, you are not going to make good investment decisions, and you are not going to make money. And there's no easy way to learn how to do due diligence. You have to start investing. That's why I get really excited about the opportunities to make really small investments. $1, $5, $10. That's important. You may say that's crazy, but you've got to be able to start with an amount of money that you really can afford to lose for sure, that's not going to upset your apple cart, so that you can begin to understand the process and how it works. Because if you don't start there, you're never going to understand the nuanced questions to ask. That's it. We've set up the Impact Cherub Club so people can come and join us and get help and education from peers. And some of the folks that are in our Impact Cherub Club are amazing human beings. We've got a woman in the group that spent 20 years on Wall Street and shows up to every meeting religiously, right? So, I mean, these are, and the group is full of people who are genuine experts, and yet there are also some novices, right? People who are coming to this and saying, well, I was a school teacher and I'm trying to figure out how to invest some of my retirement money. Listen, I just love that. And of course, the school teachers bring value to, so it's a fun, easy way to begin to learn. Okay, the third thing that we're doing is AI tools. And this is in a way, I have to admit it's my favorite, because I am a little bit of a nerd on tech. I wish I were better at it, because I would build better tools with it, but I am a nerd. I'm working on better tools. But with this AI diligence prompt that we've created, you can use this little very simple tool, rudimentary by technology standards, but it's going to give you prompts that you can use to generate a full, like a 15-page due diligence report on a deal that you're thinking about. That 15-page report will take you 30 to 45 minutes to generate. It'll take you another 30 to 45 minutes to read thoughtfully. But when you're done with that, you're going to know so much about that offering, the deal terms, the founders, the people, and it's going to turn up. Like, well, this guy's kind of been in trouble before. caution, right? It's not much impact here. Not sure what you're looking for, but if you're looking for impact, I'm not sure I'm seeing it, right? It's great. It's great. I love this. So anyway, those are some of the things we're doing to try and make this easier for everybody.
And it seems like it's all around, reducing those barriers for people to get started regardless of where they are.
Yeah.
Okay, we're at the halfway point now. Question 4. I love that we unlocked the passion. We have been talking about things that you're jazzed about and that are working.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's good, because the next question, Devin, when was the last time you were wrong?
About an hour ago. No, the great thing is whenever you speak, I had a professor in college who said something that I thought was so profound, and it's true, right? He said, 90% of what I'm going to tell you is correct, right? I'm a genuine expert in my field. 10% is wrong. The problem is I don't know which 10%. And that is true for me, right? I spend all my time, pretty much all my time, most of my time, producing content of one sort, writing books, producing podcasts, all kinds of things. Writing, what I didn't mention, that one of the things we do is every week I publish a due diligence report on my pick of the week as part of my newsletter. And I also, on Mondays, we share a list of all the new offerings with impact. Sorry, I should have said that before. But there's no question. I've been doing this pick of the week thing. It's a new thing. We've only been doing it about 2 months. So I've probably done 8 or 9 of these now. I think I can already identify 2 that I regret. So my hit rate is a little bit bad. I'm hoping to get better, but yeah, I've already spotted 2 that I think I shouldn't have made that my pick of the week. So yeah, it happens.
One thing you and I and everyone listening have in common is that we don't know the future. So I don't think we're going to hold those against you. So don't hold them against yourself.
I appreciate that.
I've heard several themes, and I could take a guess at an answer for this next question, but I want to hear it from you because this is one of the ones I would love to be wrong on. What hill would you die on? What is something that you were like, I would go down arguing that this is part of my 90% that is absolutely true. And it can be a serious thing. It can be a not serious thing. But what is something that you were like, unwavering, a champion believer?
Yeah.
Come at me, prove me wrong, because I know this deep in my soul and in my being.
I guess it's it is a strongly held view, but I have to acknowledge it's just an opinion. But I think individuals and society can do very hard things. We can accomplish incredible things, amazing things. And I know in some ways I'm not as especially accomplished. I had Bill Gates on my show, but I don't make $1 million a year from my show either. So,
Success takes lots of forms.
That's right. But I think about, my son, and I couldn't be less influential in my son's life, I think, if he had never met me. He's an extraordinary human being. I remember when he was about 8 years old, I was talking about a fellow in my neighborhood that was a friend of mine who had got a PhD at Oxford and has since been a university president at 4 different universities. Really a smart guy, just deep intellectual. And I referred to him occasionally as the smartest man in the world at home. And my son said, "Why do you call him that?" And I told him about, he got a PhD at Oxford. And my son thought about this for a while. He said, "I think I want to do that." So he didn't end up at Oxford, but he did get a PhD at Berkeley and has had an exceptional career. But he decided at age 8 to do something hard. And he chose to do physics as his major, as a PhD. not because he really has a passion for physics, but because it was the hardest thing he could think of to do. And so he just proved the model. We can do hard things. We can do really hard things that we think we can't do. You can do them. I look at Rotary International. I'm a member of Rotary, so I don't look at this entirely objectively, I confess. But Rotary started working on eradicating polio from the planet about 40 years ago. And it isn't eradicated, but let me put this into perspective. It's reduced 99.9%, right? When Rotary started working on this, there were 350 to 400,000 cases of polio every year. Now we're talking about a few dozen every year in the whole world. And virtually all of them are in Pakistan and Afghanistan, along the border, in one of the most troubled spots on the planet, where they're having trouble getting this disease eradicated. But any day now, it could happen. Any day now, the last case could be the last case, right? We're that close. And it's so exciting. But it proves this model that as a society, when we lean in to do hard things, we can do them. When we talk about ending climate change, we can do that. And sometimes those that are the most advocacious of climate change solutions sound so dismal, like we can't possibly do it. And I reject that. I believe passionately that we can address climate change. And yes, it takes a decade after we start reducing carbon in the air for the climate to respond to that. The climate moves very slowly. So what we're experiencing today in terms of climate is as a result of the atmospheric levels of carbon a decade ago. And so what we're seeing is that it has continued to spike over the last decade. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, but I remain very optimistic. We can do this. We can get that carbon out of the air, and we're going to do it. We can address global health issues. We look at what we're doing with polio, and I talked about the pandemic a little bit. In 1918, very quickly, they recognized vaccines were a thing back in 1918, and people recognized they needed an influenza vaccine back in 1918. Do you know when they got it? I think it was 1943. They worked on it for 25 years. COVID-19, right? The pandemic begins in January of 2020 in a little town in China, little town with millions of people. And by Christmas, people are getting the new vaccine. So things have changed dramatically, and we can do that. We can shorten that time further, right?
I want to jump in on the note of doing hard things, right? Because when you earlier, I think it was on question 1, or even right during our intro, the idea of the very areas that the problems that you have focused on, these are big, hard things. Love your optimism and commitment to keep working at them and acknowledging that they're not going to change overnight, right? But knowing that you're focusing so much of your time and energy as a helper, as a content creator, as a connector on solving these critical, hard problems that affect us all, it's the perfect time for this next question, which is, how do you play? Because as humans, we need both. We need work, we need purpose, we need hard things to be challenged, right? But also we need rest, we need creativity, we need different experiences. So with the knowledge and the perspective that so much of your time, even internally, even your thought processes and mind share is on these tangled, complex problems, how do you not just find time to play, but what does play look like for you?
Yeah. Well, I'm not as good at it as I should be. I don't do it as much as I should, but I love
You are not alone. That is often an answer.
but I appreciate nature, and I love where we live. Yeah, we live kind of on a golf course, and there's a little pond out back, and so I'm able to watch the nature. And you say, well, what's going on in suburban America that's nature, right? So we root all winter long. We had a great egret living in the pond. We've got geese that live here in droves, and it was so fun this spring to watch the geese bring their new goslings around. And so they would come into the backyard, and we named all of them by the number of kids. So like we had the Partridge family because they had 5 kids. We had the Brady Bunch because they had 6 kids, and the Waltons had 7 kids. And anyway, it was so fun. We just watched all these little families of goslings. Just loved it. And then, of course, on New Year's Day, I remember we had a great blue heron stop by. It's one of the largest birds on the planet. Just happened to stop by our backyard and say hi on New Year's Day. It was great. So I just love appreciating that. I don't do it nearly as often as I should, but I love to get out and golf. I'm the world's worst golfer, but it's so nice to be outside and to walk by all the geese on the course, and to see the turtles in the ponds and all the stuff that goes on in nature.
And it's also
I love
so
that.
nice to be able to do something and not have to be focused on being the best or making the most money or whatever, just to do something for the joy of doing it.
Yeah. One of the things I love about golf, that again, I'm terrible, but it requires just enough focus, just enough brain power that it pushes everything else out, and I get to refocus.
I really love how play for so many people means getting off of screens. It's such a good reminder. And also that you are so authentic in saying that you should do it more, because we all need that reminder, right? So like maybe that's the sign, is that we should all go out and touch some grass or go find a bird to admire, or maybe even while listening to this.
That's right.
We are coming close to the end. We have 2 questions left. This one is interesting because you are someone who is at the intersection of a lot of this process. How do you know what advice to take?
People ask me all the time, what is your superpower? Because that's what I ask people in my show, right? And so people ask me, and so I know, I can see that my superpower is persistence, and right, 1,500 episodes of the show, persistence, right? You can see it, but I am equally adept at persisting in dumb things as in good things, and that is a challenge, right? Double-edged sword, right? It cuts both ways. And so, yeah, how to know what advice to take? Boy, Katie, when you figure that out, let me know. I need to listen to all your episodes, and listen to people who figured that out, because I'm still listening. I'm still learning.
It's a practice, is what I have learned and what I continue to learn. So this is not a question on there just for everyone else. It is me asking on behalf of a friend, which is me.
Yeah.
Well, let's round out and let's get to the final question, which is a very fun one. And I can't wait to hear, for somebody who holds like 6 titles and is probably working on 15 different things, even as we speak. What is your least favorite part of your job? And what is the best thing about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely, unequivocally, the least favorite part of my job is asking people for money. And it is something that I think is a real disabling weakness. And someone asked me the other day about that, right? I was doing a crowdfunding training, and the question was, how do I ask people for money without looking weak? And I said, the richest people on the planet, Elon Musk, often most weeks, the richest guy on the planet, raised capital for Tesla, raised capital for all of his businesses. everyone who's successful raises capital. It is not a sign of weakness. It's what successful people do, right? Same with sales, right? The successful people can sell. They can ask people to buy their products and sell their products. It's a weakness not to be able to do that. So I recognize that as a real weakness that is kind of disabling. And I've got to work on that. I've seen that for years. I'm working on it in all the different ways I can think of.
It's hard.
But yeah, that's the thing I hate the most.
It's hard. And like, I think that one of the best lessons I learned as a founder, as an operator in startups, but also I learned about crowdfunding back in my days at Seed and Spark is when it comes to feeling like you're asking for money, switch that power dynamic. You are offering people an opportunity. And when it comes to this kind of crowdfunding, right? Regulation crowdfunding, Reg A, any kind of purpose round, you are offering people an opportunity to turn their money into more money and good in the world.
Yeah.
So like,
That's
it's a damn good opportunity.
That's
so
right.
yeah, I feel like for me, I struggle with that as well. And so having that mindset flip, because when I get in my own head, it gets harder. So I feel you on that one. And I feel like so many of the audience will as well.
Yeah.
Now tell us about the best.
The best part of my job is talking to people like you. You've been on the show, and it runs the gamut. And I find there's no one I don't learn from, right? Every single guest comes on and I get insights. I get a connection. I'm grateful for every single person I've had the chance to talk with, from Bill Gates and amazing people like that to people that in some ways seem more ordinary, and yet they bring profound wisdom. Oftentimes it's amazing. It's amazing. So I'm so grateful.
I'm with you. It is great. I am grateful that I get to do this, that this is part of my job and it's part of what I love on this earth. So thank you for indulging me in this and flipping the script and being on the other side of the questions for a change. Tell us now where people can find you, how they can find out more about everything that you do. They can learn more about the Super Crowd, all of your books, all of it. This is your time. Let us know how we can get involved and help you in helping others.
Yeah. So thank you. It's easy to find my books on Amazon, but the great thing about my books is, although I don't think any of them are stocked in many bookstores, at any bookstore in town, you can go ask them to order it and they'll bring it in. So if you want to support a local bookstore, go to the local bookstore and ask them to order in the book and they'll do it for you. But you can find them easily on Amazon and just search for my name, Devin D. Thorpe. The D helps because there's another guy, Devin Thorpe, that recently wrote a fiction book. Has nothing to do with me.
Different Devins,
That's not me.
Different topics.
Different Devin, different guy. It's a horror novel, I think. Anyway, you can find my television show on the E360 TV network. You can find that same content as a podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find
wherever you're listening to this.
That's right. That's right. Wherever you're listening to this show, you can find Superpowers for Good, my show. And which is not nearly as good as Founded on Purpose, but it's you can't get everything from Founded on Purpose. You need a superpower. And then our newsletter. We've got a newsletter. We send out 6 posts a week, typically, occasionally a 7th. That is at superpowersforgood.com, and the 4 in that one is a number 4. Yeah, and you can learn more about our events at thesupercrowd.com.
Awesome. We will drop links in the show notes. If you're watching this, we'll drop them where you can see them as well. Note to self for edit. I also want to say, just echoing what you've already shouted out. Shout out Stockton, shout out Gail, shout out Birds, and shout out to our local independent bookstores.
That's right.
And a huge shout out to you. Thank you, Devin, for joining us and for this conversation. and for really truly showing what it's like to live a life that is founded on purpose.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.